What's up, guys? Cynthia Alejandra here. Hi, welcome to the Meaningful Wealth series with Cynthia and Jules. How are you today? As usual, let me get my girl on the line. How is it going? Happy Friday, everybody. Um, so I just asked Jules to come on board, and I am so excited about today's topic. So, real quick, for those of you that may be new to our world, hi, Jules. Good to see you, love.
Hi,
Ooh,
Sid. How are you?
background. I love the background.
Thank you. My
Ooh,
son painting.
yes, 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 yes. I just love the theme because we are about to enter a full moon. I don't know if you know this.
I didn't. Tell me.
Part of it is aligning the power of abundance and wealth through aesthetics.
Okay.
So anything that is beauty, anything that is appealing, that is elevating, even in luxury and all the things, it's calling that. So anyway, I love your background. It's like pink is coming at me a
Isn't it
lot. So in the
fun?
gold,
And the gold.
I love that, love that, love that. Well, I wanted to say welcome, and I have come together with my beautiful, sweet friend and biz bestie, Jules, to come and talk to you guys about topics that surround the, I guess, overall idea of meaningful wealth. And Jules is a subconscious master expert. And I just wanted to pick her brain, and we're going to go back and forth. I have my cup of coffee. I think I am set for a Friday. And so let's dive. What are we talking about today, Jules? Tell me all the things.
Well, I think we're talking about why people burn it down, like why we have success and throw it away. Have you ever come across that? I know you've come across that in your world with ladies, but can you tell me like your take on that? Like, have you come across that in your world?
Oh my gosh. Have I come across it? I came across it, walked it, came back, danced on top of it, and then like I healed that part, and then I opened my practice, and then women came through and they did the same thing. And so it's, yeah, I have.
Yeah, that
Let's
darn,
dive.
it's that self-sabotage, man. Why do we have it? Um,
Whew.
well, I know in my world, what we talk about is like our beliefs and our identity around that. So sometimes, we get to a level and it's past what maybe we currently identify with as who we are, and then it becomes shaky ground. So I guess I'm gonna ask you, in what ways, in your experience and in your practice, what what's the top ways executive women tank their wins?
Oh my gosh, that's a beautiful loaded question. How much time we got?
We got an hour.
All right, so what causes women, executive women, to tank their success? You nailed something very important here. You talked about identity, and I think this is why I'm so passionate about identity, because while we all feel like we're solid in our identity, it's all fun and giggles until it's time to reach the next level, or once we get to a level and then we're like, what was this all for? And I think for me, in my what I've experienced with the women in my world that are executive, that are, making over 250,000 a year, it boils down to something very similar. And I'm going to answer that question with a story, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Um, there's a very important person in my life who, had a dream to be a doctor, and culturally, it was very much pushed the idea that you had to stay home with the kids. And so when she had her children and she wanted to pursue being a doctor, it was the which one is it? Because as you know, a doctorate requires, it's like another marriage, it's another being you have to attend. And to say the least, she didn't last more than 2 years. She gave up, and she carried that guilt throughout. And now that her children are older and they're trying to pursue their own success, it's now the guilt of now her she because she has grandkids now. The idea is, well, we're not supposed to do it that way.
Yeah.
And so her child is now having a hard time with building success because from one end she understands the mom guilt, on the other end it's like, but I want to be successful, so which one is it? And I think the moment that you feel that you have to sacrifice something in order to get something, it's your reason to quit. So
Yeah.
I think number one is giving yourself a chance to quit because ultimately you're scared of your own dream.
And what do you think about their dreams scare them in your experience?
In this particular instance, and I feel like with the women that I've worked with, it has been a combination of, can I sustain it? Am
Okay.
I going to lose people? Are my children going to um are my children going to resent me for pursuing my goals and dreams,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, am I going, it's like they never win. And I think it goes back to why I love working with women. And it's because, we have all these expectations that we've been groomed to think that we have to meet, right? Is it, I know for me, this is my personal experience. I learned about success when I was very little. I used to think my dad, went to this machine and gave him money. Later on, it turned out to be the ATM machine. I didn't realize that that was his own bank. But I love the idea of him having access to resources in that way. And I felt like for me, it really defined the idea of I want to have access to stuff like that. I saw the power of having money, and I saw the power of leveraging money. And there's, growing up and throughout my life, I realized that, yeah, I went into this, what is the word? Rabbit hole of chasing money, of hustling, and it was so supported. Here's the other thing. It was so supported by the society around me. You're supposed to be independent, you're supposed to be hardworking. Have you heard that song? It's the one that says Independent. You know what I'm talking about? You know that
I
rap
do.
song?
I do.
Girl, I was listening to that song and I was like, man, that girl's burned out.
BURN. We need a new song.
Exactly. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, he's talking about it. He's praising this woman for having two jobs, you know, um, working hard. She cooks and she even smells like onion rings. And I'm like, she's burned out. So, oh, anyway. um, but yeah, it's the ideas that we pick up, right? The ideas that we feel we have to perform under.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I have to be super independent in order for me to make my parents proud, to have a lifestyle, to belong in the club, in the social club, to belong with this group of people. To At the end of the day, it boils down to love, to finding ourselves as being accepted.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Well, and it also, I would bounce it back to you this way. So we innately as humans, we're either, and I'm going to say either to start with, so stay with me here. We're either internally referenced or externally referenced, meaning if I'm internally referenced and I get dressed in the morning, I typically want the people around me's their opinion if my outfit looks okay. Like I want a second opinion. I want to hear outside sources. That would be I think I said internally, my bad. That would be externally referenced. So
Mm,
meaning that if I'm going to make a big decision in life, I'm going to ask everyone around and get their opinion.
Hmm. Hmm.
If I'm internally referenced, I don't care what anybody else says. It's what I want. Like I even know people to the point where, if they had an option to move, they're like, I'm not asking anybody. I decided I'm going to move. And sorry, boyfriend of mine of 6 months, I'm just, we're done. I'm moving, right? Because they're totally internally referenced. And there's positives and negatives to both. And I think exactly what you said. If First off, if one, we have to understand which one we are naturally. It does not mean we can't be both and. It just means that we tend to gravitate towards one or the other by nature. And again, there's positives and negatives to both. And once we understand which one we are naturally, we can train ourselves to be both and. And because we're conscious of it now, which everybody watching this is going to be a little bit more conscious of it now, you're going to be like, oh, that girl on the internet was right. But when you start to make these right, when you start to make these choices and you realize you have a decision, am I going to take this from an internally referenced or an externally referenced space? And
Right.
when we're figuring out what wealth or what fulfillment looks like for us, if then we're going to filter it through, is this a moment where I need to be internally referenced and really figure out what I value? And then maybe also, once I know what I value, now go and externally reference to the family members and the people that mean the most to me and see if I can find balance. And I think that's where we miss the ticket a lot of times. Say we don't know anything about internally or externally referenced, and we make a decision, and then it causes chaos in another part of our life, which causes burnout, right? If we find that balance with knowing these skills and knowing ourselves and what we truly value, then we can leverage these skills with designing the life that we want so that we're not burnt out and we are supported and we can have a career and also not miss those valuable years of our children's lives. Because I don't know about you, but I know for one, I'm a big thinker, big picture kind of person.
Right.
And I always, if I'm making a big decision, I look at it through the lens of the only guarantee in life we have is that at some point this life is going to end. And I want to know that when I come skidding to the end, to the finish line, that I'm sitting there going, wow, that was a wild ride. And I'm so grateful for all of it. And I regret none of it. At least the parts that are super meaningful to me, like time with my kids, seeing them grow up, being able to provide the things for them that I want. Like to me, that's a rich, wealthy life. But that's different for everybody. So these are the tools that I like to use to help people so that they're supported in a way that doesn't cause that burnout.
Right. And I think like we are being positioned to realize that we don't have to we don't have to build life the way we used to. So, to add to that, Jules, the day before yesterday, there's this woman named Amanda Francis. I don't know if you have heard of her.
I do.
She's like the,
Money queen.
money mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she has that book. I can't remember the name of it. In any case, if you Google her, you'll find her. And I found it fascinating because she made a post about outgrowing the environments that she was in. It's almost like the content that she's been putting together. I mean, she's been doing this for about 7 years, I want to say, if not more. And the
Mm-hmm.
content that she's been putting together, you know, it's helped her generate a tremendous amount of money. And I find it fascinating that she was talking about this because, she's made a ton of money. She is living what most people would consider success. And yet she was like, I am bored. I am bored of what I have built. I am bored of and she didn't use the specific words, but she said something to the effect of, I am bored of the messaging that you have to keep proving yourself and that you have to keep trying to fit in, and there's all this noise out there about belonging. And so it caught my attention because somebody tagged me on it, and she was saying, hey, I want to connect with women that actually have done it, and they're not here to prove anything. They're just ready to make a massive impact. Like, you're not here to get the badge of, I'm a bad bitch and I've made this much money or what have you, right? Like, and there's nothing wrong if that's the phase that you're in, but it comes to a point in your life where you're just like, you know what? I am tired of self-sabotaging my life and building this massive success at the expense of the things that I love, and I'm ready to now burn it down because now I want to spend time with, or for example, that was my story with my kid, right? Like now I want to be with my kid. um and then you end up again starting from zero, and that rat race gets so tiring. It gets so tiring, right? And I just find it fascinating that no matter what level of income you're at, or how successful you think you are, we all have very similar patterns and very similar thoughts. And I feel we're so being invited to, what if you're in a self-sabotaging cycle, ask yourself, what are you running from? Because going back to what we were saying originally, it's this identity that you have that you think you need to fulfill ultimately. And it's like, what about that are you done with? What about that are you bored with? What about that are you just like ready to break up with? Ultimately, it all boils down to, what are you doing? Who are you doing all this for? And what are you trying to create? Because success, right? There's a lot of people, and this is a true statement, like there's people that have no money and they have beautiful relationships and they're not happy. And there's people that have a lot of money and very crappy relationships and they're not happy. So what is success? If you ask both spectrums, they will give you a different answer. But at the end of the day, it's what matters to you.
Yep.
And it's discovering that.
And those are the questions I don't think as a society we're taught to really sit with. I mean, you think when we're in high school, we're supposed to figure out, and I think I said this before, but when we're in high school, we're supposed to figure out what we want to do for the rest of our lives. We barely know who we are. I mean, from being a little kid all the way through grade school, high school, even college, you're kind of told and guided of what what is appropriate for you, from the family that you grow up in and the paradigms that you grew up with and the belief systems or the habits that your family has shared and passed down to you, whether they're good or bad. Whether they instill positive health or not positive health, it's all programmed in us. And you know I'm all about taking the driver's seat back. do you ever watch
Right.
this do you ever watch the movie, it's a kids movie, but Inside Out?
I have. I've seen the first one. I have not seen the second one, but the first one blew me away. And by the way, for those of you that are live, let us know what you think about this topic. I'm so curious. Um, Go ahead, Jules. You were going to say something.
I'm curious too. Please shoot in questions too. Um, so Inside Out, like with the control panel, I was so fascinated by this movie, which by the way, the second one I think is equally as good, which is hard to say about sequels. It is
Forgive
equally
me.
good.
Yes, I have seen the second one. You're right. I always confused it with the Soul one. Sorry, forgive me.
Great one too. That's another good one. Um, but anyways, it's that control panel, and it's all those core memories that we have. And if you think about it, she's labeling them if they're a happy memory or a sad memory, and she's taking away some sort of lesson from them. And I'm trying to think in general, but I think there was a couple of them where she had created like a fear around something, or like anxiety shows up in the second one. And it's interesting, like watching even that movie, it shows how much of our map of reality is created. And then at some point, especially like with burnout, it crumbles. And if we don't pay attention to the fact, just like you have to update your computer software, right? We know that we update our phones constantly. We have to update what it is that we want, because I'll tell you, if you sit down in high school and decide this is what I want, 20 years go by, that's probably not the same thing you want anymore. And so we have to update that. But no one in our society, well, there are people, but not a lot of people talk about exactly that. Like, how do you find out what you want? You know?
Right.
And really setting your life up to go down that path. And I think that's what happens is people hit a wall because they've never taken the time to slow down long enough to go, what do I really want?
And I feel like, I have heard this saying before, and I don't know how true you think it is for you or I know for me, I've actually questioned it because I have heard many times, the older you get, the more fearful you become, right? So it's not that you don't ask the question, it's that you have your own rebuttal against the question, meaning, what do I really want? And if you've been practicing, if you've been pursuing a career that you're not passionate about, if you've been in a relationship that you chose in high school and maybe you're feeling like, well, is this still mine? Is this still something that I want to do? Or if you are in a community or pursuing beliefs that, maybe you don't feel aligned with, and you ask yourself that question and then you rebuttal it with, well, I'm too old to change paths, you know, you are self-sabotaging what could be possible. And this is what I say all the time. People think manifestation is cute, but it's not. It takes bravery. It takes courage because the seeds that were planted in you were not planted in me. They were not planted in Jules. They were planted in you. Same with my seeds, same with her seeds. And at the end of the day, it's your bravery, your courage to step into, okay, I'm older than I was when I made that choice, and what? To get a different result. But that mindset comes from making a decision. And it's not always easy. You have to think about this. And Jules, I don't know how you feel about this. We are products of our environment. And what led you to make a decision, and let's use the example of a career that you chose to pursue that you're not happy with. You probably chose it because a family member or somebody that you knew made an impact on you and you pursued it. It was good money, you stayed there, and then now you're here, right? But it took an environment to get you to make that decision and push you into this direction. Now that you're here, and if you want to change career paths and actually now pursue what you want, you're going to have to change your environment.
Yes.
You're going to have to change your environment to people that are aligned with that new vision. And
And
a
the
lot
five,
of people, I'm sorry, yeah.
go,
And
go
a
ahead.
lot of people leave that behind because now they don't want to, they feel they have to compromise or leave behind their loved ones. They feel they have to leave behind what they've always known. And that may not necessarily be true, but my question is, would it be worth it to you? Is your ultimate
Very,
fulfillment worth it to you?
very valid. And there's studies that show that the five people you spend the most time with are the most influential. They're the most influential in how you show up in the world, how what you think, what you believe, your actions and habits. It's all influenced, and it's the five people closest to you. That's why community is such a beautiful thing. And if you can choose the community you want to be in to up level yourself, even better.
It's fascinating that I've always heard that, especially around personal development environments. I heard that quote, and then I realized even further that not only are you influenced by the five people that you hang out with the most, but you actually make the similar amounts of money as those five people,
That's
which
fascinating.
it's fascinating because and it makes total sense, right? I don't know why five people. I don't know how that conclusion came about, but the thought is, okay, if if I if I have reached and I had a client do this, like she had reached seven figures, she, had built this empire, but then she was like, I am absolutely done with all this. I'm tired of being such a man in my life. I am ready to just quit my career in Kumbaya in Aguascalientes in Mexico because I have a retreat over there where actually they don't speak for days. And you think about these things and you're like, that sounds very enticing when you're burned out as hell and you've been
Mm-hmm.
so misaligned. But you don't have to do all of that. Like, you're doing too much. All you have to do is give yourself permission to Ask the question, what do you want and what needs to happen? What needs to change?
And that leads me, can I share an exercise with everybody?
Yeah, please.
So our human nervous system is one of the most powerful question answering programs. Meaning, whatever we ask it, it will align itself to give us the answers. And it's twofold. One, we have a filter in our mind called the reticular activating system. So it's this filter, and it filters out like it's like almost 90% of the information we gather in any given moment because we're collecting information and all the time. And if we were to collect and absorb all that information at once, we would be overstimulated and couldn't make a decision. So our filter literally filters out a majority of the information we collect in and only shows us what we've programmed it to be important in our lives. That's why you can have an accident, say, and you could have 5 bystanders and they all see the same accident from a different angle, but they inevitably see a different story. And it's because that's the filter at work, the reticular activating system. That is it at work. It is filtering out information that is deemed not important and bringing in filter information that you have deemed important. I played this game with my kids at one point and explained it to them because I figured if I could explain this complicated theory to my children and get a result from them, I'd be that much better of a trainer for my clients. So on a 1 hour drive, I was teaching this concept to my kids. We decided we wanted to search for blue Jeeps. I didn't expect it to happen this fast, but they're in the back jumping up and down going blue Jeep, blue Jeep, blue Jeep, blue Jeep, being kids, right? I'm not kidding. Within the first 5 minutes, they saw their first blue Jeep. We saw 7 blue Jeeps in that first drive.
Oh,
Isn't that wild? Now, I can't like try this. I'd love to hear anybody that tries this over the weekend. Please give us comments and let me know if it works that fast for you. But I had a 6 and an 8-year-old in the back jumping up and down, and they were having fun. And that's key too, making it fun. It can't be like work. You need to make it fun. Gamify things. I use that example to show you how powerful our filter of our mind is. Now, how we program it is by the continuous repetitive thoughts we have and the words we speak. Now, that's where it gets really fun. So because our mind is so good at answering questions and our filter is constantly changing, what we're allowing in and what we're not, what we see and what we don't. Do you ever know anybody that might go around and be like, oh, why does this always happen to me? Right? They'll even say it out loud, right? Did it, done it. The problem with that is that question that you just asked your mind, there's a part of you in the back of your mind that goes, oh, he wants a list. Let's give him a list. Right? And now you have evidence. Your mind is showing you, because that filter is lovingly showing you the evidence of why these things always happen to me. Yes. So let's get smart. I know, right? So let's get really smart about the questions we ask. So here's my challenge, right? Here's a list. They want a list. So next time this weekend something's going to happen, you're going to stub your toe and say something out loud. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that girl on the internet said, don't do that. I don't want a list. Stop it. So we're going to be smart about the questions we ask. And so we want to ask very purposeful questions. So like questions like, why do I really deserve to have a 7-figure business? Right? Why do I deserve love? Um, what things am I currently doing to achieve my fitness goals? Right? So who do I need to become to, or how am I currently making my work life and my personal life balanced? You see how I'm posing these questions? And you want to do this in a moment where you can take a second and see what the first thing is that comes up. And let me explain something about the subconscious mind. It will always answer first, and it will always answer honestly, whether you like it or not. So the first thought that comes up is your subconscious response, and you're going to get one of two responses. Either A, you do deserve it, or you are doing the things, and you're going to get a list of the things you are currently doing, or you're going to get a list of the things you're not doing or why you don't deserve it. And here's the thing. Either path good or bad, we have a direction to run in. If you get a list of all the things you are doing or why you, yes, you do deserve that love, great. If you get a list of no, you don't deserve love or what you're not doing, and that's what comes up in your mind, now we have an angle to go because that's a limiting belief. That is a block. That is a fear that is going to stop you. Or if you keep running in that direction and you don't face that fear, you're going to burn it down.
Hmm.
Isn't that fun?
That's so fascinating. I just love the idea of in the videos like thumbs up. I love the idea. You see, I love the idea of this exercise because it's true. Like and this is why, guys, actually, before I say what I was about to say, this is why I'm so passionate about the work that Jules and I are doing together. I feel like Jules is like my secret. What do I call you? You're like the ninja I have in my back pocket. Like,
Ooh, I love a
that
ninja. That's
that
awesome.
one tool, right? That one tool you need. I mean, it's like the one thing that comes up and it's like a variety of tools, right? Working with clients, right? No matter where you are in your journey, there's a feeling that you've tapped into that you've been having a hard time breaking through. And the environment that you are in is supporting that block. So the women that come in my world, whether they want to create the relationship, whether they want to create balance and harmony in their home, between their careers and their home, between their self-love and their community, right? Wherever they're at, we do all this work around who you are, how you're showing up, what do you want, and what's the gap. And Jules, a lot of it is very, it does touch on subconscious work, but mainly it's around what's happening around us so that we dive deeper. And then when we find the roadblock, Jules comes in and she's like, ew. And then we heal it up. And then we send you out on your merry way. And then you are like the boss you're meant to be at work, making the money, making the 7 6 figures and doing the thing, right? And coming home to your children actually happy, not hating your life, right? Now, am I saying that our work makes your life perfect? No, because life is not meant to be perfect, but we have created a beautiful space to help you navigate your conscious and your subconscious work. And together, we walk the path together to guide you into the life that you are so deserving of and so ready to receive. And so, if you have been experiencing a lot of chaos recently, pay attention to what's been showing up because it will be very telling on the questions, like Jules says, that you've been asking yourself, right? And also the things that you've assured to yourself. You're not
Yeah.
meant you're not meant to struggle. Struggle is a taught behavior. So is the idea of sacrificing things. Now, does that balance means that you get to set boundaries, but that does not necessarily mean that you get to sacrifice anything that you don't want to. Especially in 2025, let the sacrifice be back in the before Christ times or even after Christ times, but up until 2000. Let's call it even. After the Mayan calendar ended, sacrifice is a choice.
Oh my gosh.
The Y2K came to reset everything. So if you're sacrificing things, listen, that is your choice, honey.
Oh my gosh. Y2K. I love it.
That just exposed how old I
Hey, I'm right there with you. Well, and that also comes too from just watching, if you grew up in a family where your parents maybe struggled, then there's possibly a part of you that's hardwired that it ain't worth it unless, it's you're struggling. You haven't earned it, right?
am. Right.
And
Right.
it's not to say that, you're not going to work hard or work at getting, what it is you're trying to achieve in your goals, but you can flip the script and make it more fun. you could enjoy it or be more focused and purposeful with your time. I know a lot of people that can get the same amount of work done in a 2-hour workday that they get done in, 7, right?
Right.
So it's kind of, and there's a lot of really smart people out there now that are flipping the script on how we've done things for so long. I'm trying to think of an example. I feel like I had one, but it'll come back to me. But there's a lot of beautiful people out there that are really changing what, even certain jobs look like. So, it goes back to that community and who you're around, and the influences that you purposefully put in your life. When we're a kid, we don't get to choose, but when you're older, you do. And that's the beauty. Anything that you have gone through, whether it's a trauma or just a belief that you've carried, can be changed. That's the beauty. We hold all the power inside of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it goes back to who is holding you accountable to create this result, right? Do you have the right support system? So Jules and I are working together on putting something very juicy for you guys. And we will be announcing that very, very, very soon. But for now, I really want to ask you to, you know, if we're going to talk about meaningful wealth, share with us what makes wealth meaningful to you. Is wealth even a triggering word for you? Is meaningful a trigger for you? Like, what is coming up for you, right? At the end of the day, all of this work is here to tell you that if you're just tired of standing in your Tesla with makeup and like mascara running through your cheeks, and you're holding your latte and you have another hand, in your other hand your phone, and you're just like having a what the moment, where you are fed up with going to the office, with joining that meeting, with showing up to that conversation, and you're feeling overwhelmed where you don't even want to think anymore. You want somebody else to make the decisions for you because of how tired and burnt out you may be. I just want you to know that there is hope and there is a solution, and it gets to change when you choose to change it. So we're going to be doing these on Fridays. Jules and I are having so much fun, and we just want to show you that it is possible. I've been there, sister. I've done it. I've climbed the ladder, found that I climbed the wrong wall, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, let me come down. I have to start all over. I get it. I've done it. I think, Jules, you've done it too, right?
I have. I absolutely
Yeah.
have. Late nights,
So
early mornings. Yep.
both of us, I feel, when I hear your story, Jules, when I hear my story, we came to a crossroads and said, until what point is enough? Is this all there is? And because that question, we started pivoting our lives, and we have created massive results in different areas. Me being an entrepreneur, running multiple businesses, you doing the same thing, now navigating, homeschooling on top of that with your kiddos. And I'm like, Jesus, this woman has a cape. Like, you have a cape, you're hiding it. Show your real colors, Jules. Show us who you are. Show us your face.
Oh, my kids do pretty good with homeschool, but it's
Yeah.
uh it's a different beast.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't, I love, like, you talked earlier about evidence, right? Um, one of the things that I'm absolutely appreciative about what's happening in my world today is, I have my own evidence of my journey, but I love the evidence of the women around me. For example, Jules is somebody that not only absolutely trust in the professional setting, but also in the personal setting. She's a beautiful mom, beautiful wife, and she knows how to dance. This girl knows how to move. I mean, she helps people get their shit together when it comes to their mind. My life is there's a polarity in my life. I'm navigating a divorce. She has an amazing marriage. I am navigating a divorce that I am navigating in the most loving way with my ex. We're still running a business. We're still co-parenting and doing things, as sanely as possible in the midst of this, heartbreaking decision. And we're still creating a legacy in the process. So it can happen for you as well. That's all I'm saying here. And so
And I
if you have any questions for us, please drop them here. Go ahead, Jules.
I was just gonna say, and it's been extremely inspiring to watch you navigate this because I have never seen anybody in my life navigate what you're going through right now in such a beautiful way. You're so consciously aware of your choices and what you want, and everything is very purposeful. So it's really inspiring to watch not only you lead other women, but actually walk the walk. And so I just want to applaud you for that because I don't know if people hear that enough about themselves, but I will tell you firsthand because I see the behind the scenes. Sin actually does walk the talk she teaches. So
Thank
just wanted to share that.
you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's the point, right? Like, I feel, it's not about perfection. I know that was a thing that I had in my mind. One of the reasons why I was so burned out because things had to be perfect. But there's no such
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? And so just know that you have two rock solid women supporting you. We are rooting for you. So we want to do this again. We want to continue sharing wisdom. And I love the exercises, Jules. Do you have any final words for our audience?
I would say just knowing that anything is changeable. If I think one of the biggest things that I surprised myself with is I didn't I didn't realize until I really started becoming more consciously aware of my thoughts in the background. I would see other people and be like, "Oh, that's great. They have that. I can't do that. Oh, I'm not that person." Right? You see the people that I'm not saying it's a walk in the park. Like they probably get like some people that are really successful, they probably get up earlier, right? They probably start their day earlier if they want to get in that workout or go for a run, right? So I'm not saying it's necessarily easier, but it's definitely not harder either. They just have a different way of looking at things. And I think the biggest eye opener for me was I distanced myself from that thinking a long time ago. Like, somebody that would speak on stage, oh, I couldn't do that. That's not who I am, right? But the reality is, with these tools and the stuff that you and I teach, you can choose who you want to be, and we can teach you how to shift in a way that you can pull that in and that actually become a part of who you are and who you identify with. So if you see somebody out there that's inspiring to you, yeah, it might be work, but that's part of the fun of the journey, right? We're all going to get to the end of this journey at some point. Wouldn't you rather like come skidding to a halt and cross the finish line all, banged up and dirty and be like, whew, that was a great ride? Or do you want to show up all pristine and not live? I
Right.
think that would probably be my biggest takeaway that I got was just realizing that I really can choose. If I see somebody out there that's inspiring to me, I really can choose to try to step in, or not try, but to step into that identity. That was so empowering for me.
It's beautiful
You?
because it's like, I feel for me, you just reminded me of this beautiful client that we're actually wrapping up the Evolution Mastermind tomorrow. We've been working on this for a total of 12 weeks, and it's been insane the amount of rapid results that people have gotten inside of this mastermind. And there's one client that came through, and one of her beliefs was, I'm broke and I don't have the money to even do this. And I'm not, I'm looking for a different career. I just don't know where to start. Um, just very, like she was in a very hopeless space. She felt like she just wanted to get, a better job, something more stable. And, you know, she was also navigating a divorce. I think actually at the time she came to my world, she was already divorced, but she had just gotten divorced. Anyway, in 12 weeks, this woman went from having a career that she's had forever, um, that she didn't really like. I mean, she enjoyed, but it was a pay the bills type of thing, and I enjoy the benefits of it, but I'm not happy, I don't feel fulfilled, and I'm broke all the time. And she went from having that job to now landing a different job that is paying her more. Now she is in a relationship. She just started dating. She's dating this wonderful man, and it sounds like things are going very well. Her elevation, the way her routine is now because of change of careers has just been, my jaw is on the floor. And I'm just like, my God, because of this work, because of the work of, yes, you want to change your habits, but like Joe Dispenza says, you try to create a new identity with old patterns, right?
Yep.
Your old personality, and that's not going to happen. So it's doing this work and surrounding yourself with a group of people that see the vision, right? That actually pour water in your soil, fertilizer in your soil. That in 12 weeks, this woman went
Amazing.
from not only changing her career, increasing her income, to now dating somebody. She's working out. Like, she went from having all the excuses in the world to now thriving. So
I love
this
it.
this is the work. This is the work. So listen, stay tuned. Drop us any questions. We want to connect with you. We want to see you succeed. And we promise to be as raw and real as possible. And
Yep.
like Jules said, walk the talk and be of service. So if there's something that is on your mind that you want us to answer, feel free to drop them here. Jules and I both answer our inboxes. We are human. We don't have the bots doing it yet. So take advantage. You still get us. So drop any questions. Let us know. But listen, it's been spectacular. It's been so delicious. Jules, thank you for your time today, honey.
Thank you, Sam.
I
I appreciate
adore
your
our
time.
time. Absolutely. And listen, we're gonna post this here in the live. If you know somebody that could be impacted by this topic today, feel free to share.
Yes, please.
Okay, sharing is caring.
Yep.
All right. Love you guys. Happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye.
Bye.